Really sorry to start a video like this, especially if you are someone who just subscribed, but I think that I really have to come clean. It's just not right to keep this hidden. It's about my OC. They aren't really an original character. When I say why, I don't know how you all will react to it. I don't know if it's going to be a response like, wow, fork found in kitchen, how surprising. Or if it's going to result in your view of me changing completely forever. Or the one that I fear most, all of you go quiet and avoid talking altogether. My OC is a self-insert, and I mean that he looks a lot like me. Acts similar to, but without the hesitance. I'm sorry to all of you. I couldn't really create an original character like that. And what's probably the worst part is that this entire time, when he has appeared, it was just accidentally taking something and making it about myself. Now, I want you all to think about every time you've seen him in the past and process how uncomfortable it makes you. If it seems repulsive and pathetic, it's because it is. Most of you are probably disappointed. A few of you possibly feel betrayed even. I understand if a lot of you unsubscribe. I understand if you feel uncomfortable about me. I can understand if what I did sounds selfish or narcissistic to any of you. The only thing that would really scare me is if I was never given feedback. Feedback is so important to me. I always want to improve. I always want to be a better person. I get scared when people are too subtle about what they really feel, because without any understanding, all I can do is guess. And to me, my inner critic is far worse than any criticism someone real could give me. And to any of you who drew fan art of my OC or my work without this knowledge, I am especially sorry. And I am also especially thankful for your attention and kindness. Seeing someone else get inspired from something I did, especially seeing that something out of my head went into someone else's because they liked it and started drawing it, is one of the best feelings in the world. All of your drawings made me smile. Now, before any of you get scared, this does not mean that the whole continuing Ongzelic with a £0 budget isn't going to continue. I'm only trying to figure out what the plot and direction of it would be. It was planned to involve him. He was supposed to be the cause of the changes. But putting yourself in a continuation of something that people are desperate for is not a good idea. But I don't have as much of a grip on what is normal and what isn't. That's why feedback is so important to me. I need all or any of you to tell me if he should come in or not. If results are mixed, then I will only give him a bit of control. As far as the self-insert goes, the only exception is Marmite. He is separate. It would be like comparing Maya to curry or cocoa to mayo. They are similar, but not the same. Back onto the subject of why I would put myself as an OC. Now, I will try to explain why all this happened as best I can. It will take a while to get there and be difficult to take seriously, but this is really my best attempt. At a very young age, I always put myself in the character's shoes when watching something. I would imagine what I would say, what I would do, how to diffuse an escalating argument. I would even look away and cover my ears on some rare occasions when something socially upsetting happened. I think I was 5 when I started using an iPad. I was so glued to YouTube ever since. I think I was 6 years old when I started knowing what a black hole was because I watched so many space videos. Once I was talking to this kid at my school about the solar system and was surprised when they said they didn't know what it was. My tablet gave me so much information for my brain to absorb. But that isn't always a good thing. This is where saying things gets painful, but I will pull through because I have to say how I developed into what I am now. 2016 was a year that I stumbled across Undertale. I was introduced to this media like headcanons, these comics, people showing love for characters, people creating their own versions of characters, etc., and just so much more. And that had me imagining from a young age, what would I look like if I were evil? What would I be like if my personality was swapped with someone else's? Essentially, a response to the AU phase that this fandom had. Undertale was different from what I had seen at the time. It was so easy to imagine how interacting with any of those characters would be like for some reason. And on top of it, I was 7. I had nobody around me who actually knew what it was. And I didn't have contacts on the internet either because I was an iPad child that wouldn't even understand how. Sometimes I used to have fantasies of being in a fictional world, usually because you didn't have to go to school in those. The next year, I found Bendy when I was 8 years old. It was one of the first mascot horrors I had seen. It taught me that people still have love for a character that's trying to kill you. During that time, I would have my own OC in Bendy and Beat Machine Roblox roleplays. Now, despite how unserious that sounds, it was a huge sign that I was trying to interact inside of that world the closest way I could. I could name so many other pieces of media that I found way too young, but I lose track after that. All you have to know is that it was a long time of watching different fandoms grow and form from the sidelines. I saw countless characters get made, countless characters that people would draw. Without anyone around me who shared this interest, I could only either imagine or try interacting on a device. This would result in eagerness to engage, followed with a lack of understanding on what should be normal in what space. And years later, when I was about turning 12, lockdown came. I was going to do a whole section about it, but I'll spare details for another potential video. All you need to know about this is that the isolation gave me even more time to be stuck in my own head. I had thought about if I were such a popular character, but instead of ending, they would build and continue, like these ideas or daydreams were connected. Soon it was like the default for these thoughts were that I already was a recognizable character. I must sound really stupid after I said that. However, my ADHD always made these thoughts almost involuntary in life. Any monotonous activity, I would find myself thinking of something completely separate from the life I actually had, especially when on my tablet. Nearly every piece of media was accompanied by him in short moments. 2 years ago, aged 16, I drew my first ever depiction of myself that I put on the internet. It was this stupid fundamental paper education comic. I wanted to move forward past imagining living a life, so I tried to let him out, and that's when I found Zelig. This whole thing that I did, the stunt that I pulled, it was this attempt to express part of myself while escaping reality. For reference, this video was supposed to be longer and different. My confession was planned to be in the middle after you all had been eased in, but that's not treating the situation as seriously as it should be. This video was meant to be centered around how Zelig changed me and my unwell mental status. I have a voice recording that I made prior to changing what this video is. I'll show you some of it so you just get the understanding.
You know, we never really get to see Maya happy. Without an ending, you can only really imagine, can't you? You can only cope. This entire time just, and it's not really enough, isn't it? It's so easy to doubt, because any continuation you get is art or media made by other people. And it always depicts her as sad because that's what she is in the pilot. This entire time, just, I've been worried about the sanity of a character that doesn't exist. It's kind of funny. It's very funny. I don't know why it hurts so much when I look at anything to do with it. When I see her, when I see people to do with her, I don't know why it hurts. I can't see media that has anything to do with it without feeling this pang of I don't know what. Sometimes I get short of breath when I remember things to do with it. I don't know why, I just do. Sometimes when I'm in my bed, about to go to sleep, I have a really vivid memory. And it gets to a point where sometimes I have to jolt and breathe to let something out. A sharp few breaths and then everything's back to normal. It hurts so much for some reason. I can't just witness such injustice like that. I can't witness a character go through the worst things. Anyone, no matter who you are, withers away if they're isolated for long enough. Days, weeks, months. And I'm not talking about cut off completely. I'm talking about just less socialization than you need. You don't realize it, but it begins to wither you. And seeing someone force themselves into that is really...
I found Maya easy to relate to. Too easy. It's much to explain. The events of lockdown and its effects on me had a big effect on how I reacted to Maya being really inconvenienced for a joke, or that being part of her character. Seeing someone starve themselves to have their own ending credit song that they sing, being them telling you to ignore them and let them waste away into nothing. Watching Ongzelig felt like looking into a swimming center window and seeing someone in the deep side of a pool who wasn't able to swim, while the others around them either don't notice or try to teach them how to swim by mimicking hand movements. And all I could do was just stand there, thinking, take them out of the water already. It makes you just want to jump in there and help them yourself. I recently recognized how bad doing what I did was. You may have noticed me speaking about myself in third person. This is because I have been viewing myself from an outside perspective so often. After 2 weeks ago, I think I tried to separate who I am from him. I don't always know if he's the same age as me, or if he's still just 16 so he can fit into Ongzelig much easier. His behavior on paper would give anybody the impression that I am someone who acts on impulse antisocially. I do not act like that in real life. Fiction is a place with little consequence. Intrusive thoughts become action. When I become angry, I can keep it in for ages and even let go without expressing it. It takes a lot of irritation not to hold it in anymore. When he becomes angry, it is an extreme version of this. Usually, when I become more irritated in real life, he will be somewhere else inside, shouting violently at something in a scenario that antagonized him. I am going off topic. There is a reason why it's important to literally separate the art from the artist. There are many times where I think that I am a great example of why. It's not a good idea to treat real people like fictional characters, and that doesn't exclude yourself. And it was also really unsafe. I know that many of you are kind and good people, but that doesn't extinguish the risk. Doing what I did was not only stupid, but dangerous. I know that identity is usually fine on YouTube, like when Let's Players have face cams, but in a fandom like Ongzelig, where the stereotype of 4chan users, racists, people with unsociable behaviors, and possibly even doxers is high, I think I would have put myself at a huge risk if my drawings got really popular. Remember what happened to Yana? That could have happened to me, but with me basically outing my identity. People might only get a bit of a grip on what I may look like, but I think a bit of a grip might be a bit too much if there's a certain wrong audience which catches on to it. I don't know whether to continue using him in art or not. I have a lot of things left over that I was going to use for the video, but I decided to treat this much more seriously. I want to say thank you so much to everyone for your time. Thank you for enduring listening to me talking and watching the stupid things I make. Before this video ends, I just want to remind you all that your comments could change everything that I make, the decisions I make for what I make. Because again, feedback is incredibly important to me. I hope you all have pleasant nights, days, whatever time zone you're in.